The Pharisees were disciples of scribes and rabbis, and it was a great honor to be included in one of these elite schools. It also entailed a great sacrifice. You followed your rabbi everywhere. Your mission was to be like him, and so fellow disciples had a saying, "May you be covered in the dust of your rabbi." Though it was a hardship to leave all and be knit to your rabbi, it also came with a certain sense of pride. It gave you bragging rights and a bumper sticker you could stick on the back of your camel that read, "My kids went to Hillel." Anyway, they are on the scene and they are watching Jesus, who is also a rabbi. He too was calling people to follow him, to leave all and be knit to him. The problem was, as your typical rabbi, he was calling all the wrong people. While all the other rabbis were weighing up applications and selecting the best of the best for their schools, Jesus was selecting the worst of the worst. Unlike the rabbis of his day, Jesus came for the sick, the sinner, and not the righteous. And as far as sinners go, Levi, the tax collector, would have been considered among the worst. His job was to collect, or extort, money from the Jews in order to give it to the Romans. Luke chapter 5, verse 27. After this event, Jesus went out and saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at a tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And leaving everything, he rose and followed Jesus. Jesus walks up to this friendless, corrupt, greedy little man and invites him to follow him. And he does. This is a radical invitation and required a radical turnaround in Levi. And Levi does it, not begrudgingly, but with banners waving. This is what true repentance looks like. It's not contemplating our own depth of feeling, but contemplating the irresistible nature of the one who calls us. It's not a moment of self-evaluation, but a moment of self-forgetfulness. We read this, "He left everything," which in this instance simply means he left his job. He left behind that thing, that idol, that was separating him from Jesus. But what a huge thing it was. He abandons his tax office, and so even if he wanted to return later, he is not likely to be accepted for the post. We know he didn't leave everything because he goes home and throws a bender for Jesus and a bunch of his sinful friends. Company Jesus seems to be very comfortable in. Luke chapter 5 verse 30. And Levi made him a great feast in his house, and there was a large company of tax collectors and others reclining at the table with them. Now this is what really gets a Pharisee's toga in a twist. And the Pharisees and their scribes grumbled at his disciples, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Levi is a thief, a crook. But this is what happens when irresistible grace comes by your tax booth or your racket or your corrupt life and invites you to follow Jesus. A transformation begins. Life moves from selfish, self-seeking, sucking the life out of everyone else to the glorious and generous life of grace. The Pharisees' question tells us that they obviously don't think that they are sinners. They think they are righteous. Verse 31, And Jesus answered them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." So, Jesus takes their premise and says, in effect, "Okay, have it your way. I'm here for the sinner, to lead them to repentance. If that's not you, then I'm not here for you. I have nothing for you." Jesus isn't excluding them. They have excluded themselves. Jesus Christ came into this world to seek and save the lost, to lift up the weak and needy, and to forgive the sinner. And you are the recipients of that mercy. But that doesn't lead to you saying you're a sinless wonder. You and I are not worthy of so great a salvation, and yet here we are. You and I are forgiven and are joyfully and unreservedly welcomed to the feast by Jesus. That's something worth throwing a party over, right? That's good news. That's true mercy, the kind of mercy that transforms a life. And so, like Levi, our homes are to be havens of that mercy, homes whose doors are open and alive with the partying that goes on when one sinner repents.